Hey guys, welcome. I thought I'd put together a video to talk about how I added an external residential thermostat to our fireplace in our RV. We have a 2021 Grand Design Solitude, but this should work with really any camper that has a fireplace like this in it. What we noticed pretty quickly with the fireplace is that when you set the internal temperature, the lowest we can set it to is 64. When we set it to 64, it'll often keep running and running and running and running. Even when it's 70, sometimes even 80 in the RV, so that's not super helpful. What I found out was that that's controlled by a thermistor sensor inside of the fireplace here that is actually in the back of it, and what it's doing is it's reading the cold air that's behind our cabinet here, and so it can't tell that it ever actually gets up to temperature in the rig. And so by moving the thermostat outside of the fireplace, you correct that issue. Additionally, what this does, I installed a smart thermostat, and that gives me the ability to connect to Wi-Fi, which means that I can access that from my phone anywhere, which is super handy. One of the great additional features too is I can turn this thermostat all the way down to 40 degrees instead of to 64 degrees. So whenever the camper's in our driveway and we're not living in it, I can turn that down and just keep it warm enough so that nothing freezes. But then it's plenty warm, so that I don't have a problem. I don't have to heat it all the way up to 64 degrees and keep this thing constantly running. So I didn't find any videos on YouTube of how to do this, so I thought I'd throw one together. This is an afterthought, so it might be some piecemeal video. Hopefully it helps you though. I'll try to answer any questions too in the comments if you need it, but hope it helps. So to remove the front glass, you take out, right here, you take out the two screws that go in here, and then it lifts right off. There's little hooks on the back of the glass that just hook into these little things. So basically you move it up and off. Once the glasses are removed, you can remove the fireplace from the cabinet by removing 4 screws on each side, 4 on the left and 4 on the right shown here. So I've just finished wiring up my InnoFlame fireplace out of my Solitude with an external thermostat. When you first get this out and open the top of it, everything's controlled by this board. And what you actually have to do if you want to control it with an external thermostat is take away all the heating controls from this board and add it to your separate components. So normally when you open up this fireplace, there's nothing over here. What I've done is added a 24-volt transformer that basically takes 110 volt power, turns it into 24 volt power. That runs and powers the external thermostat I have here, as well as this contactor. And so when the thermostat right here calls for heat, it sends 24 volt power to this side of the contactor, and when the contactor closes, it sends 110 volts out to the heater. And so the heater is completely disconnected to the main board now. It's controlled separately from here. What I've actually done too is put a main switch on here so that I can turn the heater function off entirely. My remote control will still work, but now all that it does is control the actual fireplace itself. So it's nice too if you want to turn on your heat while you're in bed and you don't want that light on, you can just turn that off independently. But if you want it to feel like you're nice and cozy in the living room, you can turn it on like that. Gives you a pretty good idea how to do it. I can give you some parts on kind of what I used. What I would say is make sure you use large wire. I did 16 gauge wire. Make sure it's solid copper, not CCA, because that tends to not be rated as high as solid copper. And I'll provide some more details once I get it reinstalled back in the Solitude and show you exactly how it looks once it's cleaned up. But I think this will help somebody out because it allows you to have better control over your heater, as well as you can control it via Wi-Fi too. So that way you can actually control if you're hooked up to electric at a site and don't want to run your propane heater all the time or your furnace, you can actually control this independently using Wi-Fi, which is really, really nice. Here's just a quick flyover of the wiring so you can see how I laid things out. As mentioned, the fan and the heat are both completely disconnected. From the smart board here, you'll notice there's a pin open on the relay where they used to go. Also, that's the green thermistor down in the corner that was towards the back of the unit that I actually just removed and have laying there. Here's a look closely at the contactor and the transformer I added. I'll put links below as mentioned, and an overview of how I laid out the switch, just so you guys have an idea of what it looks like. Okay, so we got everything back together in the camper. This is what it looks like. Everything looks the same. You're probably familiar being able to turn the flames on and off, either here or with the remote. But then we also have this switch here. So in the down position, it means the heater and the thermostat is off. So if we're boondocking, we're not burning any power. When it's on though, the thermostat is powered and we have the ability to control the heater independently, no matter if the flames are on or not, with the thermostat. So it's pretty chilly out here this morning. It's 53 in the camper. You can tell it's set to 51, and if you'll listen, it'll kick right on when I turn it up. Contactor came on, and heat's coming out. You can probably hear it running. And then I also have the ability to control that via Wi-Fi on the thermostat, or via Wi-Fi from my phone. So it's going to be super helpful. I'll eventually run the wire, probably coming out the front of the fireplace and behind this panel, so it's hidden. And that gives us a lot more flexibility than the internal thermistor that's in the fireplace that, you know, is often way off. You set it to 64 and it's still running when it's 75 in the camper. So this gives you much better independent control that's accurate to keep your camper at the temperature you want. So hope this helps somebody. You know, if you have any questions, let me know. I'll also post some links to the parts that I used. If you'd use those links to help me out, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.